The Jacksonville Jaguars just turned into the team nobody wants to see in January, and almost nobody outside Duval is saying it out loud. 12 wins, 7 in a row. And they just walked out of Denver after punching a hot Bo Nix team in the mouth, then flew across the country and dragged Indianapolis through a game that should have broken them instead of boosted them. On paper, this one looks simple, but when a supposed quiet small market team walks into your stadium, controls the ball, controls the clock, and walks out with the win anyway, that is not noise. That is a warning. And right now, the rest of the AFC is pretending they do not hear it. Look at what this offense just did without even playing clean. Jacksonville put up around 370 yards of offense while holding the Colts a long way under that, and still walked away, knowing they left points on the field. Trevor Lawrence did not have some video game stat line, but he ran in scores, took big hits, beat heavy blitz looks, and kept finding answers on third down when the play in front of him was not there. Travis Etienne crossed the 1,000-yard mark while teams are selling out to shut down the edges. Parker Washington looked like a number one target, stacking catch after catch, fighting for yards after contact when the game started to tighten. This is not a one-trick group anymore. It is an offense that can play fast and explosive one week, then slow the game down and squeeze you the next, and that makes them a nightmare to match up with when the season shrinks to single games. The scary part is on the other side of the ball, because the defense is the reason this win feels like a message. Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker crushed pockets and set an edge that turned Jonathan Taylor into just another running back fighting for 3 yards at a time. The back end answered when it mattered, jumping routes, finishing with game-ending interceptions, and bailing out every red zone mistake the offense made. You have a team that just proved it can blow out contenders like Denver, grind through physical traps like Indianapolis, and still walk off the field looking angry at how many chances they missed. That is why the real story is not the final score in Indy. It is what that ugly win actually means for where this Jaguars team is heading next. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Jaguars and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Nobody looks at a cold, late-season trip to Indianapolis and circles it as the night a contender shows its true face, but that is exactly what happened to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You walk into a rival stadium where the home fans are still trying to make sense of a season that started hot and then fell apart, and they would love nothing more than to drag you into their mess. Early mistake, early tension, strange energy in the building, and suddenly, this does not feel like the clean highlight game people on the outside expected. It feels like a test, the kind of test that exposes whether a 12-win team is real or just living off streaks and blowouts. The way this game twisted is what makes it matter so much. Trick call to Travis Etienne turns into a loose ball instead of a clever touchdown. Flags show up in the worst moments. A tipped pass turns into a wild interception that will sit on Trevor Lawrence's box score with no note about how ridiculous the catch was. Drives die right when it feels like the knockout is coming. Old versions of this franchise lost games exactly like this. The difference now is how calm this group stayed. When everything around them tried to drag the game into chaos, they kept leaning on their style, trusting that if they stopped handing the Colts life, talent would take over. That is the real meaning of an ugly win here. It proves this team does not need perfect script, perfect rhythm, or perfect weather to carry its identity. The quarterback can make a mistake and keep attacking instead of shrinking. The play caller can throw something creative, watch it backfire, and still stay aggressive. The locker room can walk off the field, knowing they missed chances and still locked up a huge divisional swing on the road. And that leads to the real question every other team has to ask themselves now. If this is how Trevor Lawrence and this offense look on a messy afternoon in Indianapolis, what level are they about to hit when everything finally falls into place? If all you saw were the basic passing numbers for Trevor Lawrence. You would think this was just another solid game, nothing more. 23 of 37, 263 yards, 1 interception, no passing touchdowns. On a surface level, that does not scream headline. It looks like the kind of line any good starter can put up on a random Sunday. But when you watch how he handled pressure, how he controlled tempo, how he kept the whole offense steady when things got messy, this game starts to feel like the moment he quietly crossed the line from talented quarterback into total leader of the offense. Earlier in his career, a night like this could have spun the wrong way. One strange interception, a couple of drives that stall, and you would see him press, stare down one side of the field, try to rip the big throw that fixes everything at once. This version of Trevor Lawrence did the opposite. He trusted his eyes, kept moving through reads, and used his feet as a weapon when the Colts sent extra rushers. On 3rd and long, he stepped into tight pockets instead of drifting into hits, slid away from free rushers, and turned open grass into first downs before defenders even realized he had taken off. When the end zone closed, he did not force a risky throw. He chose controlled aggression, pulled the ball down, and carried it over the goal line himself. That is not just physical growth. That is a different way of thinking about the whole position. The biggest shift is what that mindset does for everyone around him. When the quarterback keeps answering tough downs with calm decisions, the offensive line can reset. After a bad series without panic, Travis Etienne can hit the next carry knowing the drive is still alive. And receivers like Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, and Brenton Strange can attack routes knowing the ball will come out on time and to the right spot. This is why defenses are starting to feel real pressure when they face Jacksonville. You are not just dealing with an armed quarterback. You are dealing with a complete point guard for this offense who knows exactly how to use his pieces. And those pieces just showed in Indianapolis that they are a lot more dangerous than most people realize. The Jacksonville Jaguars just showed something that should worry every defensive coordinator. The ball is no longer locked in the hands of only 1 or 2 stars. On one drive, it is Travis Etienne slicing through traffic. On the next, it is Parker Washington snapping off sharp routes and breaking tackles. Then Jacoby Myers sneaks into a soft spot and moves the chains like he has been here for years. Mix in Brian Thomas Jr. stretching the field, Brenton Strange slipping into space, and DJ Dallas arriving mid-season and already looking like he has been in the playbook for months. And you get an offense where the ball can go anywhere at any time. Nobody expected Jacksonville to roll into the last weeks of the year with this many real threats lined up next to Trevor Lawrence, but here they are. What makes this group different is how their skills fit together instead of fighting for the same spotlight. Travis Etienne has the burst to turn a crease into a long gain, but he has also started to grind through tough inside carries when the game tightens, which keeps the whole call sheet open. Parker Washington can work from the slot or outside, win on 3rd and medium, then turn a simple catch into a scramble drill the defense never wanted. Jacoby Myers brings veteran timing and feel. Brian Thomas Jr. forces corners to respect the deep ball, even on tired legs. And Brenton Strange punishes linebackers who hesitate for half a second on play action. When DJ Dallas can step in after a short time in town and handle checks at the line without chaos, you know this is not just talent. It is a fully wired room. Every snap becomes a puzzle, where the defense has to guess right 3 or 4 times in a row just to get off the field. The hidden pressure here is what this does to every team that faces Jacksonville in January, because you cannot just walk in and say you will erase 1 star and feel safe. Take away Travis Etienne, and Parker Washington turns into a volume target. Shade coverage to the slot, and Brian Thomas Jr. or Brenton Strange will be the ones hurting you. Bring extra bodies to the box, and DJ Dallas becomes a surprise answer in the flat. All of that sounds terrifying on paper, but it still depends on one thing that almost cost them in Indianapolis. The big men in front have to hold up long enough for any of these weapons to matter. And once you really look at what the offensive line went through in that Colts game and how they adjusted on the fly, the whole story of this Jaguars team gets even more interesting. The part nobody on the outside felt during that win in Indianapolis was how close the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line came to breaking early. You had a reshuffled unit in a loud divisional stadium, a defense loading the line with bodies, showing double mug looks, walking linebackers up and daring them to communicate. From the first series, you could see Trevor Lawrence catching snaps with a free runner in his face, backs getting hit in the backfield, pockets crashing faster than the route concepts were supposed to develop. This was the kind of afternoon where a soft line gets exposed, the quarterback starts staring at the rush, and a strong record suddenly looks fake. That never happened. They got hit. They got embarrassed on a few snaps, and then they started to answer. Every name in that group had a different problem to solve, and together, they had to grow up on the fly. Cole Van Lanen was out on an island against wide rush angles, trying not to swing his back foot open and hand over the short corner. Ezra Cleveland had to stop chasing defenders too far outside and trust that help would be there inside. Jonah Moonham was handling calls in the middle, seeing stunts and delayed pressure that are designed to confuse young centers, while Walker Little learned what it really feels like to play guard when big bodies twist into your gap instead of just attacking the edge. On the right side, Anton Harrison had to calm his hands and stop leaning, or he was going to keep giving the Colts free shots at his quarterback. There was a clear shift after the early chaos. Sets got firmer, depth in the pocket came back, slide calls picked up the games, and suddenly those same blitzes that were landing in the first quarter were turning into escape lanes for Trevor Lawrence and clean creases for Travis Etienne. That is the real value of what just happened in the trenches. The film from this game will be brutal in spots, and every future opponent will study how Indianapolis tried to break protection. But it will also show how this line adjusted without folding. When a makeshift front can survive that kind of storm and still help close out a divisional road win, it tells you they are not the weak link that can ruin a season. And it sets up a sharp contrast on the other side of the ball, because while the Jaguars line was fighting to hold ground, their own front seven was busy turning the Colts run game into a wall and making Phillip Rivers look every bit his age. That is where the real fear starts for the rest of the conference, when you see how nasty this Jacksonville defense has become in the trenches. You do not really feel how serious the Jacksonville Jaguars are until you watch an opposing offense slam straight into this front and go nowhere. Backs line up, thinking they will lean on the run, chew clock, calm the crowd, and by the second quarter, they are staring at second and long over and over again. That happened to Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis, just like it happened to big names before him. Every carry turning into a wrestling match at the line instead of a free ride into the second level. When you have a defense that can choke off the ground game without sending help, you take away the safest plan. Every playoff team leans on when the weather gets cold and the stakes get heavy. At the heart of it is a group that looks different from most fronts you see on Sundays. Trayvon Walker sets an edge that feels like a brick wall, strong enough to keep his outside shoulder free and still punch back inside when someone tries to cut behind him. On the other side, Josh Hines-Allen wins with burst and timing, folding tackles back into the pocket or slicing through to meet the quarterback before routes even finish. Inside, big bodies like Devon Hamilton and Foley Fatukasi anchor against double teams so that Devin Lloyd and Foyesade Oluokun can fly to the ball untouched. Then you mix in rotational rushers who refuse to slow down. Fresh legs that come in on third down and treat every snap like it decides the whole season. Play callers see that on tape and know they cannot simply line up and bully this group. The ripple effect is what should keep offensive coordinators up at night. When your front seven can control gaps, crush pockets, and still chase screens and checkdowns, you can keep extra defenders in coverage and trust the back end to jump routes instead of bailing out the run. Corners and safeties can read the quarterback gamble at the right moments, and go hunting for the ball because they are not cleaning up missed tackles all day. That is exactly what showed up late in Indianapolis, and it is why the most important plays in that game came from defenders who were not even in the pass rush. The real story now is how that confidence up front unlocked a new attitude in the secondary, and how those guys turned tense moments into game-changing takeaways. The clearest sign that Jacksonville has grown up on defense came from the guys furthest from the ball before the snap. For most of that night in Indianapolis, it felt like the Colts were hanging around longer than they should, trading field position, waiting for one mistake in coverage. Then Jarrian Jones read a route like he had seen it in a dream. 3rd and short, ball in the air. Eric Murray gets a fingertip on it, and suddenly Jones is driving on the throw with nothing but green in front of him. He did not panic. He did not grab. He just trusted his break, caught it clean, and sprinted it back to flip the whole energy of the game. That was not luck. That was a young corner stepping into a moment that would have swallowed past Jaguar secondaries. What makes that play even bigger is the context around it. This defense came into the year leaning on Jordan Lewis as a key piece, only to lose him and suddenly ask Montaric Brown and Jarrian Jones to handle real snaps on the outside, while Antonio Johnson continues to grow into his role at safety. They were not hiding in soft zones and hoping the rush would save them. They had to survive flags, survive long drives, and still be ready when Phillip Rivers took his final shot. On the last play, with the ball launched toward the end zone, Antonio Johnson did exactly what a smart safety should do. He tracked it, boxed out the crowd, and took it away like he had been there 100 times before. No wild tip into trouble, no blown assignment, just a calm finish to a tense throw that could have turned the whole night upside down. That kind of composure on the back end changes who this team is in close games. Corners and safeties are no longer just trying to avoid getting beat deep. They are hunting for the moment that lets them slam the door. When offenses watch this tape, they see more than pressure up front. They see defensive backs who believe the next mistake belongs to the other sideline. And once you add that mindset to an offense led by Trevor Lawrence and a front seven that already controls the run, the conversation around Jacksonville has to shift from feel-good story to real threat. The only thing left to figure out is how that all lines up inside the playoff bracket, and what a 12-win team built like this actually means for the rest of the AFC. The Jaguars are not just a nice turnaround story, they are a real AFC problem, sitting at 12 wins with a long streak built through injuries, reshuffled lines, and tough road games. Under Liam Cohen, the standard has flipped to expecting big game wins, with Trevor Lawrence's calm control spreading through Travis Etienne, Parker Washington, Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Antonio Johnson, and the rest of the roster. They now have an offense that can win fast or slow, a defense that stuffs the run and steals possessions, and a home crowd in Duval ready to make any higher seed miserable in January. The only thing the league has not seen yet is how far this identity goes when a playoff game comes down to one final drive with Lawrence and this defense deciding who really runs the conference.